remember we were talking about we're still talking about a cross section. Guys, why do I want you guys to learn about a cross-sectional diagram? It's because it's very necessary. Most questions in geography come from a cross-sectional diagram. Alright, so since you guys now remember the cold front, the warm front, you remember the warm sector and everything. Now we can now use our imagination skills to imagine what will happen if, since we say that the cold front it is moving towards the warm front, what would happen if the cold front and the warm front they catch up with each other, meaning that they collide, okay? Meaning that the warm front and the cold front they are now together, okay? Meaning that this space is no longer here. All of this space it is no longer here. Do we still get the sense of what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So basically, when all of this warm air that was found at the warm sector, when all of it rises, since we say that the warm air at the warm sector it rises, so when all of the warm air here rises to the upper atmosphere, it means that now at the ground we have lifted off all the air, meaning that the warm air has been isolated. So I've remade this diagram so that you guys can see them clearly. So we have got a cold front occlusion, okay? This is when the cold front lifts the warm front. It simply means that the warm front is on top of the cold front. I'm sure you guys can still see that this blue front is the cold front, right?
Yes, sir.
So this blue front, it is still the cold front. It is a cross-sectional view. And then this red front, it is still the what? The warm front. And you can realize, or you can notice that in this first diagram, this red front is actually sitting on top of what? On top of the cold front, on top of the blue front. Because if you can trace it properly here, you can properly see that here, this warm front, or this red warm front here, it is on top of the blue cold front. But the cold front, where is it, guys, in this case? The cold front, it is actually touching the ground. Do you see that the cold front is the one that is touching the ground? Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So when the cold front and the warm front meet with each other during the occluded stage, it can happen that the warm front will sit on top of the cold front, all right? Or it can also happen that the warm front it can also happen that the cold front will sit on top of the warm front. If we look at diagram 2 carefully, guys, we can see that this blue front is still the cold front, because remember that, guys, the cold front, it is what? It is semicircular shaped and it looks like an arc. Okay, so this is still the cold front. And this red front, it is still the what? It is still the warm front as well. But now the difference between these two diagrams, or between these two occlusions, is that in the second diagram, you can see that here, the cold front, this blue cold front, it is actually sitting on top of the what? Of the warm front. Okay, and the warm front, it is touching the ground, or the warm front, it is the warm front, it is touching the ground, or it is touching the earth's surface. So this is the ground that we live on. Do you guys see that?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So you guys can identify which occlusion it is just by looking at that. You just say, during a cold front occlusion, the cold front is the one that is touching the ground, just like here. So during a cold front occlusion, the cold front, it is the one that is touching the ground. And the warm front, it is on top of the cold front. That's a cold front occlusion. But during a warm front occlusion, the warm front is the one that is touching the ground. You can see that the warm front is the one that is found on top of the ground, or it is the one that is found touching the ground. But when you look at the cold front, where is it found? The cold front, it is found on top of the warm front. So please, guys, make sure that you mind how these diagrams look like from the side profile or from a cross-sectional view. Can we all guys see them?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So now
Yes,
the question is, how does this all happen? How come does the cold front end up being on top of the warm front? Or how come does the warm front end up being on top of the cold front? how does this occlusion actually work? Because remember that the idea in using these cross-sectional views, we say that during the mature stage, the cold front, it is moving faster and it is moving towards the warm front. Okay, so the cold front keeps on moving towards the warm front. Okay, so now that the cold front and the warm front have actually met with one another, how come does this happen to produce us a cold front occlusion, and how does it produce a warm front occlusion? Okay, so we are going to start with the cold front occlusion. So the first thing that we're going to say that during the mature stage of a mid-latitude cyclone, the air ahead, we're going to start at the mature stage, there's a reason for that. So the air ahead of the warm front is slightly warmer than the air behind the cold front. So let's go to our mature stage diagram. Okay, so this is the cross-sectional view of a mature mid-latitude cyclone. But I'm just going to draw it again here so that you can have a clean sketch. And this is our ground. Okay, this is just a clean sketch. All right, remember that here we have a cold front, here we have a warm front during the mature stage. So guys, remember that we have got two regions where we find cold air in this view. We have got cold air here behind what? Behind the cold front. Here at the warm sector, we have got warm air. We definitely have got warm air during the mature stage. And then ahead of the warm front, we have got what? We have got cold air again. But during the occluded stage, guys, we have said that all this warm air that is found in the warm sector, all of this warm air found in the warm sector has risen up to the upper atmosphere. Okay, all of this warm air found at the warm sector, it has risen up to the upper atmosphere. So now we compare the air behind the cold front and the air ahead of the warm front. Now that's the question. So during the occlusion stage, we are going to compare the air that we find here behind the cold front. I'm sure this is cold air, right? And then the air that we find ahead of the warm front. You guys are familiar with the terms, right? This is behind the cold front. This region is behind the cold front. Then this one is ahead of the warm front. So now, during a cold front occlusion, what actually happens? So during a cold front occlusion, this air that we find ahead of the warm front, when we compare it to this cold air that we find behind the cold front, this one is colder. Okay, so we are comparing these two during the occlusion stage. Okay, so during the occlusion stage, we are comparing these two. Let's just say now that the cold front and the warm front, they are now together because all the warm air has risen up to the upper atmosphere. Now we compare to say the air that we find behind this cold front, this air here behind this cold front, it is colder, guys. Colder than what? Colder than this air that we find ahead of the warm front. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so
Yes,
when we are comparing these two cold airs, the air behind the cold front and the air ahead of the warm front, the one behind the cold front is colder than the air ahead of the warm front. That's the first point. So guys, you know that since here we are having air that has got different temperatures, this one is colder, this one is not cold, it's not that cold. Okay, so what will happen here? Which one can rise more than the other, cold air or the colder air, in your own opinion? The one that is more colder, does it rise more than the one that is less cold? Yes, Trevor.
Say the air that is less cold will rise up, say.
Yes, guys, remember guys, we say that the air that is less cold rises up. In fact, guys, you know that warm air rises. You know, guys, that from grade 11, that warm air rises. So in this case, we are comparing colder air and we are comparing cold air. So the air that is less cold, it is the one that is more likely to rise. That is why this warm front, it actually ends up rising, guys. So when we draw the diagram, when we now draw the diagram of this occlusion for this cold front occlusion, just want to show you how it comes to be. This is your cold front. It has got colder air behind it. So the air behind the cold front is colder, but the air ahead of the warm front is warmer. So we have compared, guys. We have compared. Remember, I'm trying to do my best to illustrate to you guys. So I will be rubbing the diagrams and what. And show here, we have got the warm front, all right? So here, this air, it is less cold. So that's point number one. I will be illustrating each point. Now, this now causes what? This now causes the warmer air in the front to be uplifted along the cold front, okay? Just to correct the statements written here. This causes the warmer air, or you can say that the air that you find here, I'm sure this one, it is more warmer because it's less cold in a sense, right? So this air that is found ahead of the warm front, it is less cold. So you can use your own terms to describe this, okay? But just say the warmer air, just say the warmer air rather than saying the warm air. So the warmer air, we are talking about this air that is less cold. It is the one that will be uplifted along the cold front, meaning that this warmer air, it will rise. This warmer air, it will rise. This less cold air, it will rise. And as it rises, guys, do you see that it is pushing the warm front to also rise? Do you guys realize that? So this less cold air, it is the one that is pushing the warm front to do what? To rise up. Do you guys realize that?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So yes, yes, Bunolo, you can say cooler air. Good. You can say the cooler air. So the term cool, yeah, the term cool is best to use as well, rather than saying less cold. Because when I'm saying less cold, it's the same thing as saying that it is cool. Okay, so the cooler air that we find here, or the air that is less cold that we find ahead of the warm front, it will start rising. It will slightly rise. And then this rising air will actually cause this warm front to also rise, because remember that, guys, a front, it is actually pushed by the air. So as this less cold air, or as this cooler air starts to rise in this way, what will happen? Your warm front, it is forced to also rise. Do you guys realize that?
Sir.
Yes, so your warm front, it is forced to also rise. That's why you will end up seeing your warm front being on top of the cold front. That is the cold front occlusion. So the warmer front is on top of the cold front, but now you need to be able to explain why does that happen. First of all, the reason is that the air ahead of the warm front is slightly warmer than the air behind the cold front. So this causes this cooler air. You can say cooler air or the warmer air, but cool air is the best. So the cool air that we find here ahead of the warm front, it will start rising. And as it starts rising, the warm front will be forced to also rise along the cold front. Okay, and the thing is, this rising air, as it rises, because remember we said that this air is rising, right? So as this air rises and rises and rises, it goes to the upper atmosphere. Okay, and remember that, guys, when air rises and goes to the upper atmosphere, it cools and it condenses. You know that, right? It cools and it condenses, and that will end up forming lighter clouds. So we'll end up forming some lighter clouds. You guys learned lighter clouds in grade 10. What are the lighter clouds that you learned about in grade 10?
Well, sir, I don't remember the name, but I just know that they contain less rainfall.
Yes, we know that definitely the clouds that will be formed by this air that is less cold, that is rising, it will result in lighter rainfall, or it will result in light rainfall. It will not result in heavy rainfall at all. So the rainfall that will come from
Sir,
yes.
it nimbostratus clouds?
Yes, we have got nimbostratus clouds. We have got also altostratus clouds. But to make things simpler for you guys, you are allowed to just say that we form stratus clouds. Just say stratus clouds. But if your teacher recommends using the term nimbostratus, is fine. But the clouds that are formed here, they are the stratus clouds. And the stratus clouds, they bring light rainfall. So we say that they are responsible for bringing light or steady rainfall. It means that the rain is not really raining heavily. It's not heavy rainfall. Okay. Which cloud is responsible for heavy rainfall, guys? Yes, Trevor?
Is it not cumulonimbus cloud, sir?
Yes, it's cumulonimbus. So whenever you have got cumulonimbus clouds, it means that you will have heavy rainfall. Those are the dark clouds, okay? Yes, Rolly, that's correct. It's cumulonimbus. Those are the dark clouds. But when you are having light rainfall, meaning that the rain is not really pouring that much, those are likely to be the stratus clouds. Okay, so these stratus clouds, they are formed from this cold front occlusion, and they are formed from what? They are formed from this cool air that rises and rises and rises. Is it hard, guys? Because I'm trying my best to do the illustrations. So of course I don't have animations, but one day I will hire a graphic designer to make animations for you guys the way I want them. But that's for the future matrix, not you. I don't think I will do that by this year. But this is a cold front occlusion. That's the first one that we did, where we find the cold front touching the ground, whereas the warm front is on top of it. Now let's move to the warm front occlusion. Let's move to the warm front occlusion. It's a similar thing. We're just now doing the vice versa of it. So this is the warm front occlusion. I will draw this as the ground, or this is our earth surface. So this is the ground, or this is the earth surface, the surface of the earth. So here is your cold front. I will draw the cold front, and then I will draw the warm front, both of them. I will just draw them just when they collide. This is when they collide, before something happens. Now let's do the illustrations. So here you need to know that the air ahead of the cold front during a warm front occlusion, the air ahead of the cold front is colder. Okay, let's just change the phrasing a bit, guys, here. So the air ahead of the cold front is colder than the air behind the cold front. Okay, so this is ahead of the warm front. Actually, this document is a bit faulty. So the air ahead of the warm front is colder than the air behind the cold front. Okay, so the air ahead of the what? The air ahead of the warm front is colder than the air behind the cold front. Let's just try to look at that from an illustrative point of view. So this is your cold front, right? And then this is your warm front. Now we just compare the airs. When we look at the air behind the cold front, the air behind the cold front is this one, right? The air that we'll find in this region of the cold sector. So this air, we say that it is cool, meaning that it is less cold. I'm going to say it is cool, meaning that it is less cold. Okay, and then when we compare it to so when we compare it here to the air ahead of the warm front, you guys can see this air. This is the warm front, right? Can you guys see the warm front?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So ahead of the warm front, you are having air that is what? That is colder. Now it's a vice versa of what we had during the cold front occlusion, because during the cold front occlusion, we say that the air behind the cold front, it is the one that is colder than the air ahead of the warm front. That's what we have said. But now, because now we are now doing a warm front occlusion, we now say the air behind the cold front, it is less cold, or it is cool. okay, but the air ahead of the warm front, it is colder. As always, guys, let me now ask you, which air between these two is likely to rise than the other one? Which one will rise between the cool air and the colder air? Yes, Trevor?
Sir, the air behind the cold front will rise, sir.
Yes, so the cool air that we find here behind the cold front will be the one that rises. So we'll use the same technique. We use the same technique and say that the cool air will slightly rise. It will slightly rise. Use the term slightly rises, okay? Yeah, try to use the term slightly rises when you answer this question. Don't use the term rapidly rises. Use the term slightly because it doesn't rise that much, guys. Remember, what rises fast, it is the warm air. You know, guys, that warm air rises quickly, right? You guys are aware of that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, but when the air is cool, it is not really that warm, okay? So it won't rise quickly that much. So it will slightly rise. It will slowly rise and rise and rise. So as this cool air, Njalo, it is rising, what will happen to the cold front? What do you think will happen to the cold front? Yes, who's raising their hand? Let's view. Okay. Someone raised their hand and they removed it. I'm asking you guys, what happens as this cool air slightly rises? You can see these green lines. They are showing that the cool air is slightly rising. Yes, Telmo?
The cold front will also rise.
Yes, the cold front will also rise because remember, guys, the cold front, it is just a boundary. So it is being pushed by this cold air to rise, by this cool air Njalo to rise. So in this case, you'll end up finding out that your cold front has risen in such a way that it is now above, or it is now on top of the what? Of the warm front. So do you see, guys, that this is still the cold front, but it has moved from this position. It has moved from this position that I'm dotting here. It has moved up. And as it moves up, it leaves it no choice. It is now above the warm front. So this is now known as a what? As a warm front occlusion. So during a warm front occlusion, it is very important to know that the warm front, it is touching the ground, guys. During a warm front occlusion, the warm front is touching the ground. So the warm front is touching the ground. But during a cold front occlusion, the cold front, it is the one touching the ground. That's why we name it the cold front occlusion. So during a cold front occlusion, the cold front itself, it is the one touching the ground here. So here we say that the cold front is touching the ground. Are we guys still together?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
There's a question in the chat box from Monolo. So the question from Monolo says, now, so say the point you highlighted are the ones we need to use if the question says explain the cold front occlusion. Yes, guys, when you're explaining occlusion stage or anything that has to do with occluded stage, you have to explain how the occlusion happens. Okay, so if it's a warm front occlusion, you give an appropriate explanation. If it's a cold front occlusion, you give an appropriate explanation in the same way. Okay. Yes, sir.
So sometimes say they can even give you a diagram, therefore now you have to identify from the diagram.
Sometimes they will give you the diagram, but it can happen that they don't give you the diagram. You guys must always know that the diagrams look like this, like this, like this. Okay?
Okay, sir.
So guys, remember that as this cool air that we find keeps on rising, it will reach a point where it will condense. It will reach a point where it will condense and form some clouds. The clouds are still the same, guys, because this is just cool air that is rising slowly, right? So it is the stratus clouds. But if your teacher says nimbostratus, is fine. It is still fine. But you are allowed to just write stratus clouds because there are other stratus clouds that can be formed during this occlusion. So you guys must mind what your teacher says. So here these are the stratus clouds. So the stratus clouds, remember that they bring light rainfall. So the rainfall coming from these stratus clouds, it is light rainfall. This is just light rainfall. Do you guys see that? Are you guys seeing it?
Yes.
So it brings
Yes.
light. It brings light or steady rainfall. Guys,
Rainfall.
is this topic confusing to you guys?
No.
Okay, so that's what happens when the cold front and the warm front meet with one another. Now that we have looked at it, how do we do a plane view of an occlusion? That is the most important one. All right, that's where you will learn of the occlusion of the occluded front. Now let's start with the cold front occlusion. Let's start with the cold front occlusion. Remember, guys, that what we've been doing right now, it has been the what? It has been the side view or the cross-sectional view. So we did the side view or the cross-sectional view. And during a cold front occlusion, we said what? We said that the cold front is the one that is touching the ground, right? So during the side, when we drew the side view, the cold front, it is the one that is touching the ground, but the warm front, it is found on top of it. So this is a cross-sectional view, guys, or this is a side view. How do you draw the plane view? How do you draw the plane view? Guys, remember that the plane view, it is the top view, right? Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember.
Yes, is the top view. This is how you see the mid-latitude cyclone from the top. So here, you don't have to draw the ground because you are seeing it from the top. All right. So basically, you will have your cold front, guys. You will have your cold front and you will put these triangles. So you only put these triangular shapes or these spikes for a cold front only if you are drawing the what? The plan view. In the side view or in the cross-sectional view, never put the triangles and all of that. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So here you can see that this is our cold front. And then now the cold front, let me just extend a bit in this way. The cold front will collide with the what? With the warm front. They will overlap. Do you see that they are overlapping here in this diagram?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So,
sir.
so here, guys, this part where they are overlapping, or this part here, we say is known as the occluded front. This is known as the what? As the occluded front. Yes, it's more like it's the combination of these two together. It's an occluded front. But how do you draw it? In this case, this is a cold front occlusion, right? So it means at the lowest position, you must have a symbol for a cold front. Do you see that this triangle is for a cold front? You guys know that, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. But because it's an occluded front, guys, an occluded front is more like it's a combination of a warm front and a cold front. So here we must also have what? A warm front. But when we write it, we start with the cold front at the bottom. Why do we start with a cold front at the bottom? It is because this is a cold front occlusion. So during a cold front occlusion, this is the plane view or the top view that we use. Yes, sir.
So, sir, we should also include the low pressure bed, let L, small, then L.
Yes, of course. Those are the other details that you will put. So you now put your low pressure, and then you can now put your pressure readings and whatnot. But here I'm just making a simple illustration to say what the occluded front, it is just this combination. So this combination of these, the both of these, is known as the occluded front. So this line here is known as the what? As the occluded front. Yes. But how do you draw the occluded front? Here at the bottom, I say that you start with what? You look at the type of occlusion. In this case, this is a what? A cold front occlusion. So it means that when you draw this, you're going to start with a triangular shape, because remember the triangular shape represents a cold front. Remember that, right? Then you are going to follow with a circular shape on top of this triangular shape. So this is the top view. So even on a synoptic weather map, you are going to see it in the same way. So even on a synoptic weather map, it is still going to be the same diagram, because remember guys that the plane view and the synoptic weather map, they are almost similar. It's just that the synoptic weather map it's a map, it has got some areas and whatnot. Are we guys together?
Yes, sir.
All right. And then now the warm front occlusion. So the warm front occlusion, remember that from the side view or the cross-sectional view, we said that the warm front, it is the one touching the ground, then the cold front, it is on top of it in this way. Do you guys remember this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this is the ground, this is the earth surface where we are. So this is the side view, or this is the cross-sectional view of a warm front occlusion. But now when we turn this into a plane view or a synoptic weather map view, we draw our cold front, we draw our warm front in the same way as well. Okay, this is our cold front with these spikes, and then this is our warm front with these circular shapes, these ones. But now remember that the combination, their combination is known as the what? As the occluded front. This is occluded front. So the occluded front, it is a combination of the warm front and the cold front, because now it's more like it is this one, guys. Let's just look at it from the side view. This is no longer a warm front alone, because it has got a cold front on top of it. So it's more like an occluded front. This one is more like an occluded front. This small portion is our occluded front. So similarly here, we are going to draw using the same technique. So since we say it's a warm front occlusion, warm front, so it means sorry, at the bottom we are going to start with a semicircular symbol for a warm front. Do you guys see this semicircular symbol?
Yes,
for a
sir.
warm front?
Yes, sir.
And then we are going to follow with a symbol for a cold front, the triangular shape. I don't know if these are different with the way they look like, but this is your triangular shape. This make up your occluded front. So do you guys see that? How do you draw the plane view or the synoptic weather map view?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Sam.
So, sir, let's say lapho concluded front bayenze A2A overlaphane sekwenzakalani,
Kanjani?
like arrow le warm front ibe ngaphezu kwe cold front.
At the same time, maybe something like this.
Yes, sir.
I know they'll never sabotage you in that way. They shouldn't. They will always arrange it in a way that starts with one thing and then the other follows.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, you guys will even see when you guys are doing practices later on. So I just want you guys to see a realistic way to say that these occlusions, you guys maybe you are imagining that is something that is happening far away from us. But if you look carefully, guys, this is what a mid-latitude cyclone is. It is something that is affecting all of us. Do you see a cold front, how it looks like? This is the cold front. Do you guys see it from this diagram? This one.
Yes, sir.
This is a cold front, right? And then do you see how a warm front looks like? This one.
Yes, sir.
This is a warm front, guys. So guys, don't expect to see you are going to see this when a mid-latitude cyclone comes, because honestly, a mid-latitude cyclone, this is just air, guys. That is why we cannot that's why we are using diagrams to represent it. So this is your cold front, and you can see that ahead of the cold front we have got some cumulonimbus clouds, and they bring heavy rainfall. So near a cold, near, you see this house here. Can you see this house? There are even houses here. So the people who stay near the cold front here, let's just say a cold front passes them, they are going to experience heavy rainfall from the what? From the cold front. Do you guys see that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, guys. Even here, look at the occlusion now. What type of occlusion is this represented here?
Warm front.
It's a cold front occlusion, guys. Are you all guys able to see that?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Because you can see that there's a cold front. This one
Cold
here, I need to
front.
highlight it, and there's a warm front ahead of it. So we're gonna go for another last 10 minutes break. But I think what we can knock off for today, but it's fine. Let's go for another 10 minutes break and we'll come back.